and ask your questions about jerks, which I exclusively date, by the way.
She's a connoisseur of jerks, yes.
I like that. I'm a connoisseur of jerks. But I want to explain our guests. Now, Jonathan and David Bennett, they have devoted years of research to studying the science. Okay, this is not just opinion. The science of attraction, including such areas as neuroscience and psychology. And eventually they started creating practical, see, I'm highlighting these words here, people, practical, simple tips based on their studies. They have partnered with matchmakers and dating coaches in the Columbus, Ohio area, which is not too far from myself, helping men and women become more confident and attractive through consulting, public speaking, classes, and writings. Now, they are educators. They're both educators.
Right.
Both have bachelor's degrees from Ohio University and master's degrees from Emory University. Jonathan is an administrator at a drug treatment agency and a university professor. Okay.
Oh, sweet.
Now,
okay.
Yeah, exactly. So they know what they're talking about. David is a high school teacher, so he's right there in the mix of the horrors of teenage years.
Yikes.
And they have both authored books. So I definitely want to now welcome on our guests, Jonathan and David. Hey, guys.
Hey, thanks for having us. We appreciate it.
What's up, dude?
We sound exactly alike, so we sound exactly the same. Just get ready.
Okay, which one is David? David, say hello.
This is David. Hi.
Jonathan, say hello.
Hello, this is Jonathan.
Oh my God, you guys sound just alike.
Yeah, this is gonna be hard, man. I can't tell.
Okay, now you guys, of course, are brothers.
Yes.
Okay. What was that movie? Was it at the Roxbury, Night at the Roxbury? Are we brothers? No. Yes. Okay. Am I the only geek in the room? Okay.
No, you're not. I remember that because the whole Richard Grieco, thing kind of freaked me out.
Okay. Okay, I'm glad I'm not the only geek in the room. But anyway, that's the first thing I thought of when I heard you guys were brothers. I was looking. I was like, are they brothers? No. Yes. But tonight, I definitely want to get into. Tell me first of all, and either one of you can go first. Tell me about how you guys became kind of a Scientologist or whatever of jerkdom, and how did that come about, especially being educators like you are?
Well, this is David, by the way. We'll identify each other when we talk, so just for convenience, Well, a lot of it had to do with us being educators. We saw that we're very observational. We've studied a lot. We went to college and grad school. We did a lot. We learned how to research there. We looked around and we asked ourselves, what makes certain kids successful? What made certain teachers successful around us? And what we found was a lot of it wasn't necessarily academic training or how well they were doing in school, but there were a lot of social factors involved. So we got together with another friend of ours who introduced us to some of kind of the things he was studying at the time, which happened to be some of these kind of social skills and these skills that we teach. We just started to kind of study and diving into it, asking ourselves, how do successful people think? How do they act? And we came up, what we really did originally was come up with what we called models of success. We found out we've got people that were successful at something, and we asked ourselves, how do they think? How do they act? And we wrote up entire kind of essays based on that, and then we integrated that into our life, and it forms the basis for a lot of our books and our talks.
Okay, now
and this is Jonathan. How we got into the jerk angle, I do want to say a word about that. Is a lot of the talks that we would give in the Columbus area, or when we'd meet with people individually, we often heard from, especially the women we met with, why do I always fall for jerks? I think we must have heard that at almost every talk that we gave. And we also heard that even at some of the male events, when a lot of guys would ask, hey, I'm a good guy, why does the girl I like want to go out with a jerk? So we didn't originally start out looking into the jerk angle, but it came up so much at the relationship events that we did, we thought, hey, maybe this is an issue to look into, because everybody talks about it and wonders about it, but no one's really researched it, at least not in a detailed fashion.
Well, that's true. So I can definitely say that you guys are not ex-jerks or recovering jerk addicts.
We're not, no.
Okay.
We're not jerks. We don't have experience in that, as you say. Okay. Yeah, we like to say our jerk knowledge is all theory, total theory, all theory, totally theory. Yeah.
Well, mine is first-hand knowledge. Okay, so now, since you're educators, definitely the first thing we want to do is define. Define what would be categorized as a jerk, so our guys can know if you are one.
Well, I mean, we have a couple talking points that we usually go over in our talk. One would be that jerks don't really have much empathy, so they lack the ability to feel what others are feeling. A lot of times jerks are bullies and very controlling. They could be aggressive physically and emotionally, and that also expresses it in terms of control. Actually, in our talk, a lot of what our jerk talk is really how to identify a jerk and avoid it, is what we actually present to people. We do explain the science behind why women are attracted to jerks, but the main point of the talk is identify these traits early before you've bonded. Your brain chemistry has caused you to bond with him, and you can't leave him. You don't feel the desire to leave the guy. So lacking empathy, he's a bully, he's controlling. We would say he's slick is one of the things. He's manipulative, so
yeah,
his story might not always be straight. And what we emphasize a lot is that you got to watch how he treats other people early in the relationship, because he's on his best behavior around you early on. So he's going to be nice to you and empathetic to you, and he's not going to bully you. But how does he treat everybody else? Because that's how he's going to treat you eventually. So that's one of our secret tips to find a jerk early. Look how he treats other people. And that's probably why a lot of women, their friends are like, what do you see in this guy? He's horrible. He treats everyone like crap. And then the friend is like, but he's great to me. He's wonderful to me.
But he's cute.
And that too. I mean, he's so hot. He's so nice. He's so sweet.
Yeah.
And yet everyone else is raising the alarm bells of, he's terrible. He's terrible. What do you see in him?
You're just
we hear that a lot.
These are things I've said before. I'm sorry.
Oh, really? Well, we won't hold you to that, but it's good that you're honest.
I have had, again, many experiences with jerks, and usually it is after the fact, because, of course, I didn't listen to my friends. They're just jealous. Either they're jealous married people who are bored with their marriages, or they're jealous single people who are just, upset that I found this hot guy. And I tend to, and I know you guys talk about brain bonding and in the science of attraction, I tend to attract those types of guys. So what is it about me, or those types of women or whatever, that those guys see and they say, okay, that's the one, that's who I'm going to go for?
Well, I think a lot of it is those are the type of guys that are actually having the guts to talk to women, to be perfectly honest. I mean, a lot of the quieter, shy guys, they're not doing that kind of approaching. They're sitting back, being nice about it, respecting everything about a woman to the point they don't even talk to her. It's the kind of more aggressive, jerk-type guys that don't really care what people think. So they're the ones that are actually approaching women, getting to know them, charming them. And so that's why I would say, almost every woman gets targeted by jerks, because they're the ones, for the most part, are the ones going out and messaging. Usually that woman, and usually there's a few others they're messaging as well, is what usually happens. Not just you, typically. I mean, maybe in your case it was just you, but we've seen a lot of cases where jerks are not, they're not just messaging one person, it's usually multiple ones. And there's often a fine line between what women truly want and the way jerks act. I mean, the women we talk to, and from our experience, typically want a guy who is, of course, good-looking, but also a guy who's confident, charming, funny, strong, able to, kind of look out for them himself. And, jerks can put on a pretty good show at doing that, at least for a while. So one of the points we make a lot in the talk that we give in Columbus is that jerks often do a good job of kind of mimicking the dream guy that women want, which is why, a woman may meet this guy. He has a bad side, but he's so sweet and he's so tough and he's so good looking, and so he does such a good job of mimicking what they want that by the time they realize that he's not what they want, they've bonded with him emotionally. Maybe they have a kid with him. One of the, as we've talked about, maybe the extreme example, even a shared prison sentence. So that's why we talk about, finding out early on whether the guy is bad, so that they can avoid the jerk, and instead kind of find the dream guy who is very similar to the jerk, at least the way the jerk presents himself early on.
Okay. Now, have you guys ever seen the movie Meet Joe Black?
I have not. I saw parts of it a while back, but I haven't seen it. No.
Now, the reason I bring it up is because my last relationship, I say, was Meet Joe Black in reverse. Now, Meet Joe Black, which kind of speaks to this topic, Meet Joe Black is where the woman in the movie, in the beginning, she meets this great guy. He's wonderful. He's beautiful. Kind of have this sort of immediate connection. And then the Joe Black guy, which is the angel of death, takes him, he kills him, and then, becomes, kind of infiltrates his body. And so for the rest of the relationship, things are different, but she doesn't really care because she's so focused on what she saw in the beginning. So when you talk about the beginning of a relationship, how the guy presents a certain way, a lot of us, male and female, I think, are so focused on what we felt when we first met him, that high, that euphoria, and we ignore the realities that start, kind of creeping into when you really start to get to know a person, So how can you avoid that? It's so hard to not think about the love part and the fantasy part that the honeymoon.
Well, it's kind of funny because, when we went to study the whole jerk angle, we got a lot into the brain science of everything, and what we found was in our studies, based on some of the science behind attraction and bonding, is that when you're in love with somebody, the decision-making centers of your brain literally pretty much shut down when you're in a deep kind of love with somebody. That's the truth. The brain scans show that those parts of your brain are pretty much inactive when you're thinking or interacting with someone you're in love with. The chemicals in your brain, let's be honest, what's it all about for our brain and body? It's about survival. It's about reproducing, getting our genes to the next generation. And part of the way our brains kind of trick us into doing that is to make sure that the guy that it thinks we're going to have the best kids with in terms of fitness, evolution, survival, is tricking us into staying with that person, or at least mating with that person at all costs. So literally, when you're in love with somebody, you literally cannot see their faults. Your brain causes you to not see them. Now that chemistry does fade after a while. After about a year and a half, the brain chemistry changes, and you're not infatuated with them anymore. You're not as blind as you would be in terms of your brain's critical decision making. But by that point, it could be too late. So and there's other ways you can bond long term too, through the chemical oxytocin. And it's kind of funny because when we give our talks, we mention oxytocin is what's released when a mother gives birth to a child. Oxytocin gets released in the brain to bond the mother to that child. Well, that's actually the kind of bond the men and women can develop too. So people will say, why is especially women tend to bond more through oxytocin than men. So why is she sticking with this guy even though he has been arrested for abusing her, he cheated on her 5 times? Why does she still love him? Well, because she's literally bonded to that guy in the same way she's bonded to her kid. And as we know, that's a pretty strong bond. That's why it's important to avoid jerks early. Identify that behavior early before those decision-making centers shut down. Yeah,
well,
if you guys ever watched the MTV show Catfish,
yeah.
If you notice, a lot of the people who are being catfished, they literally cannot see the red flags that are all around them or refuse to recognize them. They feel that it's almost immoral and wrong to even question the person who is catfishing them, even though on the other line it may even be a person of the opposite sex they're not interested in, or of the same sex, they're not interested in. They think it's this celebrity, but they are literally so in love with that person, they overlook all that evidence. And when I watch that show, I want to scream at it, like, how can you not see this?
I do scream at it.
Do that as well, huh? And I showed David that show tonight for the first time, and he was talking at it as well. So, but it's like they literally can't see it because their brain doesn't allow them to see it. So they're in such denial that they miss all these red flags that those of us whose brains are not attached to that person can readily see.
Right.
Well, I do want to bring on a caller. Excuse me, Dre, who has been holding patiently. And caller, you are on the Crystal Show. Do you have a question for our guest?
I'm just enjoying it. This is Buck from the Talk to Q radio show, listening in with you tonight.
All right.
How you doing?
Well, hey.
I'm great.
Hi.
I do have one thing I would like to say. Sometimes I think that sometimes women have low self-esteem sometimes, and that's why they kind of get tied up with these jerks, so to speak. That could be part of it. The other part could be that sometimes the guys are ruined when you ruin from a past relationship and they go into a new relationship, and that's how they become jerks, because it's almost like they're trying to get revenge, but they're getting revenge on the wrong person. You know, it should be geared toward the person that screwed them up in the first place, not to the new person that's actually very good for them, and they don't recognize it. They're blinded because they're so enraged with what happened to them in the past. So, I mean, those are a couple of entities that I think could be part of those problems.
Oh, I think we would absolutely agree with that. I mean, and let's just make it clear too. I mean, women can be jerks too. I mean, we've known women who have jerked around guys and maybe even turned those guys into jerks in some fashion. I mean, that's absolutely possible. Yeah, women are innocent to guy. Yeah. So we're not saying women aren't jerks either. This is just the focus of usually when we're in a female audience. Usually men don't ask that type of question, but there are definitely
they don't care. They don't care.
Well, they don't care. That's true.
Right, let her be a jerk.
Well, the issue of low self-esteem, and a lot of it does, in my counseling job, one of the things I see a lot out of especially our female clients, and it's true of the male clients as well, but they really can only go with what they know. A lot of them were raised in environments where all they knew was seeing women be mistreated. So a lot of them continue to seek out that behavior and perpetuate that behavior. So that definitely is a factor that people, with low self-esteem who may not know any other type of relationship. But I do think it's also a little different in some ways, because a lot of women who are even, well-adjusted and have a lot going for them, at least in the way they were raised and stuff, at least one, I think most women, I would guess, at least fall for a bad boy once. I've never met anyone yet who hasn't. In fact, my mom and dad, my dad was a bad boy. He's a reformed one now, but mom was a good girl. Didn't touch alcohol, didn't touch a cigarette, did everything she was told. I think she has her whole life, and yet she married my dad, who was a fighter and a drunk and a bad boy. So we are a product of a woman marrying a jerk. But in her case, he did actually change and get his act together. So I don't know if that always happens, but it did in our situation.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. So do you think that because of the jerk gene, if you will, do you think is that recessive in your case, or is that going to become dormant later on, or do you think that, how's it going to work for you?
That's very funny. We always say that. I mean, our dad likes to say that we got kind of a mix of both of them. I think we have a lot of our dad's personality, but I really see our mom's personality moderating us a lot. I think it's kind of a good mix of we're assertive but not aggressive. We can do things in moderation but still have some passion. So I think in our case we were fortunate, but I think a lot of it is also we were raised in a very different environment, because by the time we were born he had gotten his act together. But I always find it funny because we talk about this and that's kind of the way it happened in our family. Our mom, I'm sure, disappointed many nice guys, quote unquote, to date the bad boy of my dad. I'm sure perplexing many of them, and I'm sure perplexing my grandma and grandpa in the process as well.
Now, Q on Twitter, remember his hashtag Get Crystallized, Talk to Q says that women like jerks because some want what they can't have. So is it a human nature thing to seek out what you can't have? We hear that all the time.
Well, I think people do value the principle of scarcity. When you are told you can't have something, I think the first thought is, I want that. Right. So I mean that is part of it. But a lot of what we go over in our talk is that a lot of this attraction stuff, it occurs subconsciously. It's in the older parts of our brain that we share with animals. So it's kind of funny. You were talking about bacon earlier and all these kind of weird relationships on TV shows and stuff, and that's kind of along the same lines. I mean, we like bacon. Yeah. I don't know if anybody's ever sat down, and I'm sure some scientists have, but you don't usually sit down and intellectually break down the reasons you like bacon. You just like bacon.
We don't want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, you just like it, and that's the way attraction is. I mean, you're attracted to what you're attracted to. There are certain things we know scientifically that attract women. Guys that are confident, more dominant, guys maybe a little taller, more muscular, deeper voice, higher testosterone levels. You think about attraction in nature, like a peacock, with the biggest feathers is going to attract the peahen. It's a subconscious thing. I mean, niceness doesn't really play into it, unfortunately. When you're sitting thinking, boy, this guy, he's hot. A lot of times what's going through your head isn't, is he nice? Or and the guys do it too. When the guy's looking at a hot model on TV, he's not saying, I wonder if she's a nice person.
I wonder if she's nice.
We can override that. I mean, that's the beauty of our human brains. We can override it with our brains.
String theory.
What's that?
Does she know what? Yeah, she knows what string theory is. Her bikini string theory. She doesn't know what real.
That's not the type of string theory that the physicists are studying, I don't think. But that's a more fun one.
Well, see, okay, my thing has always been, guys, why can't, and maybe you guys can get together and write this book, but why can't someone tell the nice guys how to be or how to act like bad guys, and then, you know what I mean, in order to attract the woman, and then when he attracts the woman and he gets her, and then she's like, oh my God, he's really a nice guy, as opposed to the other.
It doesn't work that
well. The popularman.com. The popularman.com is who's doing that. That's us, actually. That's our business, and that's at the end of the Jerk Talk. We actually go through a list of the traits that we believe women are good looking for that jerks mimic. And our goal is, because we would say that, I think most women would agree, that a hot bad boy is more attractive than a boring, passive, nice guy who won't even stand up for himself at all. But there is a happy medium. There are traits like confidence, assertiveness, confident body language, even deep voice. I mean, there are things guys can do, like you said, to step up their game a little bit, to learn something from these bad boys without becoming bad boys.
Right.
And that's kind of what we're all about in our consulting, actually.
Because I think that is definitely needed. I mean, I hear so much. I don't know how many times I've heard from guys that I've known who are, nice guys, and they've said, I never approached you, and this is years later or whatever. I never approached you because you intimidated me, and I was like, well, what the hell? I mean, I was with this idiot for like a year, and why didn't you say anything or detour me from this idiot? But they're like, oh well, I didn't think you would want to go out with me. So I hear that a lot, not just from those guys, but from women who say, "Geez, he never said anything to me. You never approached me. So what am I supposed to do?" And those bad guys, they always cross the room for you. They do stuff that seems
Yep.
like it's so amazing. Like he must really like me because he did this and he did that and he looked me straight in the eye and he didn't, you know, those are impressive to women. And unfortunately, those guys who are doing that are the bad guys.
Well, and that's why one of the number one, it's probably not the number one. Confidence is number one, but I think the number two thing we try to teach guys is you got to be bold. That boldness, obviously an appropriate boldness. You don't want to creep a woman out, but that boldness of being able to walk across the room, being able to tell her how you feel about her, that you think she's beautiful, or that that you're able to stand up for her if necessary. That's what we try to teach guys, because we hear a lot of what you were telling us earlier from guys. We hear guys say, "Well, I've liked this girl for years, and it's secret. I never told her. I don't have the guts to tell her." And I mean, we've met guys who have literally held on to a crush for 10, 15 years of someone they met once or twice. They didn't even have the courage to say anything. So, yeah, but that jerk, you're right. He's going to do that every time, which is why if you're not playing the game, you're not going to win the game. So these jerks are the ones to get with the women, whereas these nice guys, they just lose out because they don't even bother playing.
Dig that. Now we have Tasha Mack, who is on Twitter, and she says that nice guys are like watching the grass grow. We need...
Wow.
Yeah. We need
would that be
a nicety guy.
Or,
She says we need a nicety guy, just what you guys were just saying. We need someone who is nice, but who kind of gives us what we want. We got to instill more confidence in these great guys who are basically wallflowers. Who, you go to the club, they never talk to you. They talk to each other, and then they leave at 11 o'clock. I've seen it happen. And you never see them again.
Amen to that. Let me tell you. I mean, every woman we meet, they say, "I want a guy that treats me right, but he's got to be fun. He can't be boring." And you're exactly right. I mean, I would say she's right. Watching grass grow, I've known that's actually more fascinating than some of the nice guys I've met. But yeah, I mean, women like men. We want people that are exciting. I mean, our rational brain likes the logical, that the older parts of our brain where attraction occurs, we want exciting, we want fun, we want to kind of turn us on, get us attracted, get us worked up. And a guy that's boring and bland and has no sense of humor and can't even work himself up to across the room to talk to a girl, and just sits there and stares all night, that's not very attractive. And that's really why jerks win, because I mean, if you have a choice between a hot jerk who's turning you on or a boring nice guy who's doing nothing for you, depending on what mood you're in, you might go for the jerk at that point. Can't blame him, really. Right?
Well, yeah, that's absolutely true. Because, as Tasha Mack said again on Twitter, she said that bad boys are mysterious and women love mystery. We do.
And a challenge.
Call me Mickey Spillane, baby, because I'm mysterious.
And another appeal of bad, we talked to some women doing a little bit of research, asking them, the ones who were willing to be open with us about why they like jerks. And the answer we almost always consistently heard, too, is that one of the best feelings in the world is to know someone has changed for you. The idea that this bad boy who is so bad loves her enough to change, or potentially loves her enough to change. And I mean, one person I talked to who was actually in a not so healthy relationship that even crossed into abuse told me that she stayed with him because she believed in her mind that she was the only one who saw him for how he really was, and she was going to turn him into a normal, functioning guy. Everyone else be damned, because no one else believed in him. So that's something we've heard consistently too.
I have said this myself. I have said this so many times that the leap between a good guy, a guy who's so in touch with his feminine side, who cries or whatever, is like, okay, whatever, he does it every day. But a bad guy who then he cries in front of you or he expresses himself, it's like, I got it. Yes, I reached him. You know, I've given him an aha moment. I'm a nurturer as a woman. I've changed him. You know, the angels, the heavens have opened up, and I have, you know, done what I've been put here to do. Oh my goodness, I've said that so many times.
Yeah, that was the insight. In a way, I can't blame women in that sense. I mean, a lot of these guys, like some of these guys, are pretty boring. I would much rather have a fixer-upper that I'm attracted to and can make me work hard than some guy who just agrees with everything I say and presents no challenge or no mystery or no fun. That's the choices a lot of women are given, either the jerk or this boring guy that does nothing for them.
So wait, so what you're saying is, so transparency is not good, is what you're saying? I mean, because I've heard that that women want someone that's transparent. So they want to be able to see things that they don't see and to feel things that they don't feel, and they want transparency. But now you're telling me that I want it to be clear as mud now sometimes.
Well, I think being mysterious, I mean, they want to know, I think, the details about you, but they want to be able to, I think, imagine some things about you and leave some things up in the air, and that's really what we mean by mysterious. Kind of a, is he this, is he that? Kind of like a celebrity type, who really is this guy? He's so unpredictable,
right.
He's so fun, that sort of thing. Not necessarily, do I need to do a background check on him? What is he a felon type of
Well, you do need to do a background check. That's always a good thing.
You probably should. That's probably a good idea, really.
That's probably a good idea.
I think, too, also the mystery factor, I think, comes out of he's not boring, he's not stuck in routine. He's the kind of guy who's going to do something spontaneous, maybe a little bit edgy and controversial, something fun and exciting. No one watches a TV show where they do the same thing all the time. They like it because there's suspense, there's mystery, there's excitement, and that's what people want out of life as well. So the mystery angle, I think, also has more to do with not being boring, not being predictable, being fun, exciting, and because obviously no one would watch a game show if they had all the questions and answers just laid out on the screen at the beginning. It's that joy of discovery, that joy of unfolding, figuring out what's next, keeping it interesting. That's what I think both men and women really look for, not only in partners, but also even in friendships in a lot of cases.
Okay,
right,
we have Dre, we have one more caller who wants to chime in and see if we have a question for the Bennetts. You're on the Crystal Show.
Hey, Crystal.
Hey, Lady.
How are you?
I'm great.
Yes, I'm here. I have been listening for a while before I decided to press one, and I tweeted about it, and Dre asked me to call in, which I had been on the line. So, I'm just listening for a while, and I'm like, this conversation is getting really, really good. So I think I will go ahead and press one and just comment on some of the things I've been hearing, and you all have been like spot on, dead on with everything you've been saying, and I think it's just something about a woman that we just have to try that bad boy thing at least once. I've done it. It was disastrous, and yes, I thought I could change him. I thought my good nature would make him want to be right, but and I held on to him for a long time, and he was handsome and edgy and just had that, even though he was awful, he still had that swagger about him, and I guess that what drew me and held me on for so long, and probably coupled with low self-esteem and all of that other stuff I had going on some time ago. But it's in us to want to try it at least once, because I think we'll take it over. We'll take that bad boy jerk, mistreatment to some degree, over the stick in the mud and just just that nice guy who was just on some level just lame. We want to be treated well, we do, but we need so much more. We need so much more, and it's just not about. Chivalry is wonderful, I love it, but it's not just only about chivalry and a nice dinner. I mean, for me, I know it's hard to keep my attention. So if you have my attention, then it's something about you that has drawn me to you. So I do need someone who can keep my attention and keep me focused. And, you know, it's just, I can't explain it. And I know Crystal probably can understand on some level because she is a woman.
Yeah.
But, you know, but at some point, you know, we grow up. And bad boys do teach us also what we don't want. You know, and that's why women sometimes get to a point, especially when we're matured and been through so many things with relationships, we'll take that step back and that chill with that single life for a while because, like, you know what, yeah, you good looking, you fine, and yeah, but I'm not going back there again. So, before we get with that, yeah, you so nice and sweet and humble pie type thing, but that's all you got going on. So it's like, you know what, I'm good over here watching Lifetime every Saturday. So,
All right, so let me ask you this. All right, I got to ask you just because I want to hear your voice. I want to know. No, okay. Back in the day during the '80s, I'm an '80s baby. So back in the day, we had Revenge of the Nerds, right? So the odds got even. Okay, Skolnick and all those other guys. They were Revenge of the Nerds.
Yes.
Jocks.
I remember
and all that. And then you had the nerds. And they were the ones that with the Omega moves and stuff like that, and they're the ones that actually ended up. The story ends up being the jerks were the nerds were celebrated and the jerks were depreciated.
Right.
So, I mean, would that be true to life today, or would you really go if you really had to choose between Bruce Wayne and Batman? Who would you rather choose? Would you rather choose the rich guy, or would you rather choose a guy that's fighting crime and mysterious and he wears a mask and stuff like that?
But see, let me tell you something. Bruce Wayne, especially, for me, my favorite Bruce Wayne, I have to give this little tidbit. I'm a huge comic book movie fan, cartoon fan, so out of all the Bruce Waynes I've seen growing up, Christian Bale by far was my favorite one because he alone as Bruce Wayne, he just had this, like, oh my gosh, this swagger and everything about him. He didn't have to metamorph into Batman for me. Now, some of those other Bruce Wayne, they would have had to metamorph into Batman for me in order to get my attention and to keep
I thought
it.
Michael Keaton did a good job as Bruce Wayne.
I mean, he had nothing. All he had was Beetlejuice. So
I love Beetlejuice. I am the ghost with the most. Yes.
But that doggone Christian Bale, he completely turned me on as Bruce Wayne because that swagger about him, that charm, those looks, that I'll say tall, dark, handsome. He didn't have to metamorph into Batman for me. But if he can draw, seriously. So women need that mixture. And I remember Revenge of the Nerds, and I thought the story was great and everything. But I think for those cheerleaders who actually ended up with the nerds, especially the one who made out with the guy in the little bouncy house or whatever that was. And I am attracted to minds. I am attracted to intelligence, and that's a huge way to draw me. But, you got to, it has to all tie in. And I know, of course, I'm not looking for anybody to be perfect, because I'm not. But, I need you to have a mixture of some of everything. So.
Okay, now do you think Ben Affleck can do it for you in the next, Batman versus Superman movie?
You know what? I'm really not sure because I'm still trying to wrap my mind around Ben Affleck.
I'm totally off the subject, but oh my God.
No, and I like Ben Affleck. I do, and I think he's handsome. Yeah. I do, but I can't wrap my mind around him being Batman. But oh my God, that doggone Christian Bale. That's why every time I see The Dark Knight, I'm like glued to the TV because I just, it's just something about him. He has it.
Now, I can tell you this. Now, if you've seen Ben Affleck in Town, you can see him in being the Batman. 'Cause I thought he was excellent in Town. If you ever saw that movie.
I haven't seen Town.
All right. Well, that's for your homework for tonight. If you see Town, then you can see Ben Affleck as Batman.
But you know what? I saw Ben Affleck as what that was. He was opposite Electra, and it was fail. Yeah, Daredevil, and it was a complete failure. You know, for a superhero type thing.
Well, the thing about Daredevil, they didn't do enough to kind of bring the Daredevil character out. He might do better as Batman, but he was still younger at that time, and he wasn't producing movies and things of that nature. But I can tell you this much: when he did Town, and he was a co-producer on that movie, I think Batman, he might not be too bad. But see, I thought Michael Keaton was the best Batman myself.
I can't give him Michael Keaton as bad. I mean, he was fine, but you know, like I mentioned, he was fine as Batman, but as Bruce Wayne, he just didn't do anything for me.
Well, Bruce Wayne had to be a little off.
You gotta look at it like this, though. It's like you know, everybody that's probably on this call is probably used to Christopher Reeve being Superman. So he's kind of like the
I'm feeling low. He's been dead for what, about?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
That's it.
It's kind of like the standard. So you got to kind of, that's the reason why I kind of use Michael Keaton.
The only Superman ever. Okay,
and I guess that's what it is, because Superman is my absolute favorite, you know, superhero. And I fell in love with Christopher Reeve when I was a little girl, and I guess I've always been looking for someone else to measure up to that. So,
but you can fly. Are you serious?
He's so sweet, and he takes care of you. I mean, he took care of that stupid Lois Lane, and she didn't even give a crap about him. Oh, it pissed me off. I'm sorry.
But he was a nice guy, though. Look at that. He was a nice guy. Superman, even the character of Superman is still a nice guy. He's a Boy Scout. So even still, it wasn't really much of a stretch. You had Clark Kent, who was basically a dorky, but at the same time, Superman was not like, no way by comparison, Batman. Batman is just ruthless and gets shot and get a heart. So, guys, you know, let go to the Bennett brothers, because
I'm sorry, Bennett. I'm sorry, we've got off on a tangent. But you know what? I have to say this, and then we'll get back to you guys. But I want to say this for one thing. First of all, Superman and Clark Kent is the perfect analogy for what we're talking about tonight. Batman
Absolutely.
needs serious clinical grief counseling. Okay, this is what he needs. That's
funny.
Coming from a woman who has been a counselor, he needs help. Okay, he needs some serious help, and maybe some drugs. He needs maybe a psychiatrist, because he needs I'm sorry. All right, guys.
He's the epitome of bipolar.
Thank you so much, Lady T. He is bipolar. Thank you so much, Lady T, for calling in, and Buck. Jonathan and David, please tell us where we can find you, what's coming up. Maybe we can check out your workshops, and people in the Midwest area can come and check you guys out. Where can we find you?
Well, you can go to our website, which is thepopularman.com. That's our site for men. Again, The Popular Man. And that links to all of our other stuff related to adults. We also have thepopularteen.com. And that's our brand geared toward teens to help them develop the skills to become more popular. We have Be Popular Now, which is our book related to men, and we have 11 dating mistakes that men make and 11 dating mistakes women make, which are 2 books. And then we have the Teen Popularity Handbook, which is the book associated with our teen brand. So stop by our website, look around, and there's more resources there. There's some free ebooks on some of those that we're going to have available. We have our Jerk Talk available. The talk that we have been referring to is available for download as well. And you can find that at womenlovejerks.com or womenlovebadboys.com. Both of those will take you to that webinar.
You know, you might have to come back to talk about the whole teen thing, because I think it starts really early, especially when you think about bullying and the whole thing about being popular and not being popular and what happens to those kids, especially these days. So, yeah, I think that would be a great topic.
Oh, we'd love to. We'd absolutely do. We do quite a few interviews on the teen brand as well. It'd be great. We'd love to be back. It was a fun time. It was a very fun time, let me tell you.
Yeah, we had a great time. We really appreciate you having us on. No problem.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot for coming out, man. It was awesome.
Great topic. Thanks so much, guys. And remember, go to womenlovejerks.com, which is actually my official website.
Maybe we should put your picture up there, Crystal.
You should put my picture up there.
That's funny.
I know. But thank you so much, guys. Jonathan and David Bennett, forget about it. Women love jerks. Please go check them out. Get help, guys, and get help, girls, because, you know, we need help.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much. All right.